Tonight, booster shot changes fast-tracked in Australia's fight against Omicron. Plus, holiday-hungry Victorians finally free to travel to Queensland. Shock new tactics as anti-mandate protesters use children to push their message. 100 feared dead as devastating tornadoes tear through the US. We're live to the disaster zone. Tens of thousands pound the pavement in perfect conditions for the Melbourne Marathon. And fists fly between fierce rivals in a wild Melbourne basketball derby.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Blake Johnson starts now.
Good evening. Major booster changes are being fast-tracked in the fight against Omicron as the government pushes to get more doses into the arms of Victorians. The wait time between jabs has been cut to 5 months, while a new vaccine booster has just received official approval.
A last-minute double check.
You've only got 50 micrograms.
This is the half dose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good job. Yes,
Just want to make sure.
And the Federal Health Minister and Secretary of Health were ready for their booster shots.
Done. How quick was that?
They're hoping Australians will do the same now that the wait time for third doses has been reduced.
ATAGI has recommended that the time frame for the boosters be brought forward from 6 months to 5 months. And that's in light of international evidence on efficacy and the impact of the Omicron variant.
The decision to change the interval was made after the latest lab data showed that although Omicron is a milder strain,
even if you've been vaccinated or if you've had COVID before, Omicron's able to get around the immunity that we have.
As one gets towards 6 months, the waning immunity of the primary vaccination means that a booster will be very important to continue that protection against this variant.
Pfizer was the first booster shot to gain approval. Moderna is now also an option for the 1.5 million eligible Australians.
If you're 18 and over, you can have the Pfizer or the Moderna wherever you are as a booster.
Both mRNA vaccines are approved universal boosters, meaning they can be matched with AstraZeneca, Pfizer or Moderna original 2 doses.
You can have either Pfizer or Moderna as a booster. The evidence would suggest that there's no clear difference, so it depends what's available.
Our case numbers continue to hover at around 1,000 cases a day. And in the last 24 hours, there were 2 more deaths. 92% of Victorians are now fully vaccinated. And there are 3 confirmed Omicron cases in the state. Another 7 are being investigated. New South Wales is the first state to hospitalise an Omicron case, raising questions about if our vaccine passports could soon be changed.
We're beginning to understand that this vaccine probably is a 3-dose vaccine.
And Chanel, in another sign that Omicron is a milder variant, there are changes to the list of extreme risk countries.
Well, that's right. From midnight tonight, the quarantine rules will change for arrivals from 8 South African countries previously listed as extreme risk. They will no longer have to complete 14 days of hotel quarantine. Like everyone else, they'll spend 72 hours quarantining at home or in a hotel of their choice. Blake.
Shana Vella outside Parliament. Holiday-hungry Victorians are counting down until Queensland's border reopens later tonight. Emma O'Sullivan is at Melbourne Airport. Flights are being ramped up to meet demand.
The Queensland border opens to Victorians in 6 hours and it's expected there's going to be tens of thousands of passengers in coming days and more flights, especially between Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. Tomorrow there are 32 flights alone just between Brisbane and Melbourne. The first flight to Cairns will depart at 6:30 in the morning. The border also opens to New South Wales tomorrow at 1 a.m. Today at the Queensland-New South Wales border there are already cars lining up and it is anticipated up to 50,000 vehicles will be making that journey tomorrow. Police are warning there will be compliance checks. Anyone wishing to travel to Queensland from New South Wales or Victoria needs to be fully vaccinated to avoid quarantine. Victorians jetting off will need to have a PCR test within 3 days of their departure and then another swab is required on day 5. The airport is getting busier. Of course, that is going to increase significantly in the lead up to Christmas as many more friends and families are finally reunited. Blake?
I bet. Emma O'Sullivan, thank you. Children have taken part in an anti-mandate rally as protesters vent against new rules. The vocal crowd again brought city traffic to a standstill, marching from State Parliament to Carlton Gardens.
As vaccinations for 5 to 11-year-olds loom and mandates remain unclear, children were a focus at today's lunchtime protest in March.
Forcing vaccination on children, which is abhorrent.
We don't want these vaccines for children. They are experimental.
For the 7th consecutive weekend, our city's streets swamped. Again, a mix of messages from vaccine mandates, segregation and side effects to suicide, media coverage and the now passed pandemic bill.
We can always reverse it, can't we? Get rid of Dan, get rid of the bill.
The truth is it's all bullshit and lies. You're evil and demonic.
What is the truth though?
The truth is they're killing our children and it's disgusting.
You ruin our families. You scumbags. Wake up.
Hope you die of blood clots. I mean, you're not going to make it to your 10th booster shot.
A good government should govern, not rule.
Paula from Maui says she worked in aged care for 7 years and can't work unvaccinated.
It's devastating. It's so devastating. It's ruining our life. You've got no idea the stress all these people are going through. We're all good people that have worked. I've worked since I was 16 and I'm nearly 50. And now they're not letting me work.
This man approached us, frustrated at the city disruption every weekend.
We're just sick of these people. I mean, we're just really sick of them, just like slowing everything down for all of us.
The march ended at the Carlton Gardens with speeches and music. The demonstrators keen to show that despite their fury, they are peaceful and filled with families.
These mandates need to stop. They need to allow people to get back to work and there are families here. We are not extremists.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Deadly tornadoes have smashed through half a dozen US states, levelling entire towns and leaving a death toll feared to top 100. The hardest hit was Kentucky in what's been called the worst disaster in that state's history.
This is what it looks like after being caught in the eye of America's deadliest tornado in decades. Mayfield, Kentucky, flattened.
Mayfield needs some prayers. This looks straight out of a movie.
There's nothing left.
The damage repeated through Arkansas, Illinois, Tennessee.
There's no house sitting here. There's no houses at all.
Up to 30 tornadoes ripping across the American Midwest and South. This was a candle factory in Mayfield, Kentucky. It's feared 110 people were inside when the tornado literally wiped it out.
God, please send us some help. No. We are trapped. No. The wall is stuck on me.
That worker and so far 40 others have been pulled from the rubble alive.
It'll be a miracle if anybody else is found alive in it.
Rescuers still holding out hope.
I'm looking for you, baby. We've been looking for you.
This will be, I believe, the deadliest tornado system to ever run through Kentucky. We were pretty sure that we would lose over 50 Kentuckians. I'm now certain that that number is north of 70.
The Nestlers count themselves as the lucky ones.
Blessed. I'm grateful to be alive.
Surviving as the storm blew their house to bits around them and their 9-year-old.
I was trying to hold the mattress and reach over and hold on to her at the same time.
You just hear this roaring like a train, and especially when it grabbed my legs and I had nothing to hold on to. I was grabbing onto the wall.
And left in the wreckage a whole separate peril. Fallen power lines. Here the tornado snapped off 2 power poles and dumped them in a car park as it smashed the convenience store behind. In all, hundreds of thousands of US homes lost their power. The tornado that took out Mayfield is believed to have cut a path across more than 300 kilometres of ground. If so, the longest US tornado ever tracked.
This is likely to be one of the largest tornado outbreaks in our history. It's a tragedy. And we still don't know how many lives are lost or the full extent of the damage.
In Arkansas, 20 people were trapped inside a nursing home.
Are you okay?
1 person is confirmed dead. In Illinois, 6 people died when the walls collapsed at an Amazon warehouse. Other workers are still unaccounted for. It will be days before Americans know the final death toll.
Anybody here?
rebuilding here will take far longer.
And Tim has the latest live from Mayfield in Kentucky. Tim, it's now a race to find survivors trapped beneath rubble.
Yes, Blake, and already officials here are talking down the chances of that happening. You heard the governor there saying a miracle would be needed to take anyone alive from the wreckage of the factory. For the people of Mayfield, a lot of grief lies ahead, and worry for the people of Middle America or the Midwest of America looking in on what has happened here for a couple of reasons. One, this was a really big tornado strike, the biggest almost certainly since 1925. And perhaps the biggest ever recorded in the country. The second thing is it was unusually, unseasonally early. Typically the hot and cold winds needed to make a tornado occur around May, April, very rarely December. Americans know, looking in on this wreckage, that their tornado season has barely begun. Blake?
Tim Lester, live in Kentucky. Thank you. Melbourne is rallying around a family involved in a crash on the Calder freeway that killed a 2-year-old girl. Cassie Zervos has an update from the Alfred Hospital. Cassie, both parents are making progress.
Well, Blake, mother Felicity Stewart remains in the ICU ward here at the Alfred Hospital in a serious but stable condition. Her partner Simon is tonight in a stable condition. A GoFundMe page has been launched to help the family out almost a week after the fatal smash on the Calder freeway. The family's 1-year-old daughter Jemima is home recovering with extended family, but sadly her 2-year-old sister Harriet couldn't be saved after a truck somehow lost control, striking 7 cars. So far, the page has raised more than $4,000, but friends are calling on the community for their generosity to help a family whose lives will never be the same again. The 42-year-old truck driver was arrested at the scene and has since been released without charge, but the investigation remains ongoing. Anyone who would like to help the family out and donate can do so via the 7 News website. Blake.
Cassie Zervos outside the Alfred. A man has been slashed across the face during a wild night in Richmond. Police attended the Edinburgh Street home around 2 this morning. The victim was taken to hospital with lacerations. Officers spoke with residents of a property nearby, but they're yet to lay charges. South Korea's president is landing in Australia later tonight for what's being described as a hugely significant visit for the region. The two countries are marking 6 decades of diplomatic relations as they focus on trade, tourism and how to counter China's aggression.
A relationship forged during the Korean War. 70 years on, the ties that bind Australia and South Korea are still tight.
The relationship between our country and South Korea is quite a remarkable one, and it's one that's deepening.
Despite his nation battling a surge in COVID cases, President Moon Jae-in will arrive in Canberra tonight ahead of a 4-day visit to Australia, the first by a South Korean leader in more than a decade.
This is hugely significant.
An alliance-building trip with trade and regional security top of the agenda.
It comes at a time of great geopolitical, geostrategic contestation in the region.
With progress expected to be made on a clean energy agreement for Australian-produced hydrogen to be used to make steel in Korea. The Republic also looking to lock in more military hardware deals, bidding to supply armoured vehicles after selling 30 howitzers to Australia last year. Both countries eager to boost cooperation to counter China's increasingly aggressive stance in the region.
A not so blunt message to China that China doesn't get to decide how the international trading system works.
The President's trip will also give him a chance to learn more about Australia's AUKUS security alliance with the United States and Britain, a pact which generated a lot of interest in Seoul, but a furious reaction from Beijing.
The response by China to that I think was irrational. It's unsettling and it's unnecessary.
Making cooperation with more like-minded countries more important than ever. Rob Scott, 7 News.
Legendary Hawthorn coach Alastair Clarkson has a new job leading the AFL's push to revive community football. The league is committing an extra $8 million to grassroots clubs to help after 2 years disrupted by the pandemic. Clarkson, who's currently studying in the US, will begin his role as community ambassador early next year. The weather gods were smiling this morning as tens of thousands of energetic early risers took part in the Melbourne Marathon. Summer sunshine helped boost spirits in the race's comeback from COVID.
Clocking all 43 Melbourne marathons. 70-year-old John Dobson, an inspiration to his city.
It's everything to me, you know, and all the people that back me up. I've got to keep going for them.
Wheelchair marathon winner Ian Gainey also setting a new record.
I've achieved a lifetime goal of completing 30 Melbourne marathons.
3, 2, 1.
28,000 people taking part this weekend, starting at Batman Avenue and ending at the G, the fittest 7,000 doing 42 gruelling kilometres. Olympian Brett Robinson finishing first in the men's full marathon event.
This is my first race since the Olympics and that was a disappointing result for me, so it's good to bounce back.
While Olympian Millie Clark took out the women's marathon with a personal best of 2 hours, 26 minutes and 59 seconds.
I'm really stoked. It hasn't quite sunk in yet, but I think as the day goes on and you have a few beers.
Others weren't waiting to have a drink.
Every 5K I decide to reward myself with a beer because you know what, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
A wonderful day made even sweeter after last year's festival was cancelled due to the pandemic.
We just wanted to have some fun.
It's a bit hard with the COVID, with the training, but it's good it was on.
Many running for a cause.
In March, we unfortunately lost one of our best friends to suicide. So there's been a foundation set up for him.
This is the first time the marathon has been held in summer in its 43-year history. Today's races started an hour earlier than usual to help with the heat.
I know the runners are grateful for the opportunity to participate in the events, the largest running festival that we've had since the pandemic.
Just to get out, enjoy Melbourne's back open, so, you know, it's good.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Amazing effort by everyone. The Aussies are turning their attention to the second Ashes test. Jackie Felgate, a South Australian local, should get a hero's welcome.
Hello, Blake. Yes, indeed. Alex Carey's stunning debut with the gloves will have him feeling right at home in Adelaide. Plus, the Bulldogs star settling into his new role off the field as a coach. Advantage Max Verstappen ahead of tonight's Formula One title decider. The dunk that sparked a vicious all-in brawl between two Melbourne teams in the NBL. And it was almost as feisty in Melbourne Victory's A-League showdown. Blake, we've got plenty more coming up in sport.
Catch you soon, Jack. Thank you very much. One of Australia's richest executives is campaigning for life-saving treatment to help diabetes patients. Details are next on 7 News. Plus the hunt for a runaway driver after a fiery crash in Caulfield South. Why a quiz night could cost British PM Boris Johnson his job. And later, how virtual reality is helping Victorians build their dream home. The hunt is on to catch a runaway driver who fled from a stolen car after a crash in Caulfield South. Police say the stolen vehicle caught fire after slamming into a parked car on Kooyong Road just after 3 this morning. The driver is yet to be identified. Anyone who witnessed the crash is asked to contact police. One of Australia's top executives leads the charge to make a life-saving device more affordable for type 1 diabetics. Richard Goyder chairs Qantas, Woodside and the AFL. Tonight, he's campaigning for a cause close to his heart.
High-flying executive Richard Goyder could afford to improve his son's life.
Life-changing for me as a really active person. It's meant that I can always have insulin being delivered into my system in a much more sort of convenient manner.
Instead of a bulky pump, 23-year-old Will is using a small device called an Omnipod. The cutting-edge technology costs $400 a month.
Put yourself in the camp of someone who's just started their first job on an average or basic wage, and they've got no chance of being able to afford that technology.
Stacey Morigianis was diagnosed when she was 6 and used to manage type 1 diabetes with injections.
I don't feel like a diabetic anymore. This is just amazing.
Ms Morigianis withdrew money from her home loan to trial the Omnipod for 3 months.
You manage your diabetes better. I will prevent myself from kidney disease, heart failure, going blind, being amputated. There's so much involved. It just needs to be affordable.
There's no cure for type 1 diabetes and it's not clear what causes it. What is known is that it's not related to lifestyle choices such as diet and exercise.
This is a new technology. I'm very excited about this technology. So my hope is that this will be brought forward for a full assessment by the medical authorities. I guarantee if they approve it, we will fund it.
That could change the lives of 127,000 Australians. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
5 new ramps along the M80 Ring Road will be opened by Friday. The project hopes to improve safety by separating traffic going on and coming off the Hume Freeway. Once complete, it's expected to reduce travel time for more than 165,000 drivers each day. Boris Johnson is under growing pressure to tighten COVID restrictions even further, with fresh warnings of thousands more deaths. The British PM is also facing a new political dilemma as more party members turn on him.
It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas on London's busy streets. Shoppers not put off by the growing number of COVID cases driven by Omicron. The government has made masks mandatory in more settings and encouraging work from home. 22 million people have now had a booster jab, but scientists want more, fearing the COVID-related deaths in the UK if vaccines prove ineffective.
If we let it get very out of hand, then even despite all the precautions we've taken so far, we could have a really horrible period again just after Christmas.
With a push to expand vaccine passports and limit hospitality, but it could be a tough sell as Boris Johnson's own MPs turn on him. Following revelations, Christmas parties were held in Downing Street during last year's lockdown, and new pictures of the Prime Minister hosting a Christmas quiz that staff attended in person, seemingly breaching the rules.
It shows there are plenty of Tory MPs willing to come out now and say we are unhappy with Boris Johnson's leadership and what he has done this week. One Tory MP described the mood of the party to me today as the pits.
The Prime Minister's job is considered safe for now, but he's potentially on his final warning from colleagues. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
Heavy rain has sent a torrent of water cascading through Bolivia's capital, La Paz. It smashed into bridges and washed over roads, hitting drivers as they passed. Fast-flowing waters left an almighty cleanup. Estelle Grieping joins us now. Estelle, we have a couple of hot days coming up.
We certainly do, Blake, and today we started on 10 degrees before reaching a top of 28 this afternoon, but it's only set to get hotter. We'll see the peak of the heat tomorrow with temperatures topping 30, but in the coming days the mercury drops right back down low to the 20s. That means by Wednesday almost all of that red has disappeared and it'll be our coolest day of the week. But today was certainly summery and this is what it looked like in Mentone. Port Melbourne was also warm with a top of 28. And Blake, I'll have the full forecast after sport.
Looking forward to that sunshine. See you soon, Estelle. Getting your flu shot is more important than ever. Up next, the new health advice as Melbourne braces for a dangerous influenza season. Plus, the moment an armed man is shot dead in a standoff with police. D-Day looms for gifts as Australia Post counts down to Christmas. And how virtual reality is helping Victorians build their dream home. 30 tonnes of drugs with a street value of more than $5 billion have been vaporised by the federal police this year. The haul includes almost 20 tonnes of stimulants and more than a tonne of sedatives.
Had potential to cause massive damage to the community through violence and long-term health impacts.
A special furnace turns the illegal substances into harmless steam and ash. There are crucial deadlines this week for sending Christmas parcels. Tomorrow is the last day for regular parcels to be posted for delivery in most states by Christmas Eve. Express Post is still available if you already missed last week's deadline for parcels to WA and the NT. You have until Wednesday for those two states, or Monday week for express posting to other states. For interstate cards and letters, this Thursday is the last day to make sure they'll make it. As Victoria's COVID vaccinations continue to climb, we're now being asked to roll up our sleeves for protection against the flu. Health experts warn after 2 years with virtually no infections, the 2022 flu season could be one of our deadliest.
It's not the virus the world has been focusing on, but in coming months, the flu could be as dangerous as COVID-19.
There's a real risk we're going to see literally thousands of deaths in Australia from influenza.
Pre-pandemic, there was a flu epidemic in 2019 with almost 70,000 infections in Victoria alone. This year, there were fewer than 600 flu cases across the entire country.
We've seen flu
around the world really be suppressed by all the social distancing and travel restrictions particularly. That flu will eventually come through as our borders have opened up and as people have started moving around.
Medical experts say it's likely the lack of exposure for almost 2 years will make this season particularly bad.
More severe infection because our immune system's not as well primed, and more of it because there'll be more spreading through our community.
There is a crossover between the symptoms of the flu and COVID: coughing, runny nose, aches and fever. But being vaccinated against one virus doesn't eliminate the other.
That people won't have any pre-existing exposure to influenza, or they won't have topped up their immune responses by getting natural infection, and so this year they'll be particularly prone to it.
But if you get the two diseases together, the diseases will compound and your risks of permanent and severe consequences is increased.
The flu vaccine will be available in Australia in March. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
The Andrews government is vowing to tackle Melbourne's homelessness crisis head-on. Today, unveiling a $40 million plan to build 62 units in Carlton North to provide safe and secure housing for people over the age of 50.
The most significant number of people experiencing homelessness at the moment are women over the age of 55.
The government says more than 10,000 women aged over 50 were supported by Victorian specialist homelessness services last year. WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange is said to have suffered a stroke under the stress of his recent court case. As the 50-year-old faces his third Christmas behind bars, his fiancée claims he's been left with a droopy eyelid, memory problems and signs of neurological damage. Stella Morris says Assange suffered a mini-stroke in October triggered by the stress of the US action against him. He has until December 23 to appeal against his extradition to the US. A man has been shot dead by police near Kensington Palace, the home of Prince William and his family. He was seen with a gun entering a bookshop before trying to get away in a car. When he was stopped by officers, a shootout erupted and the suspect was killed. An investigation is underway. Police have ruled out terrorism. And police have managed to stop a man who stole a school bus in North Carolina. Officers ran alongside with their guns drawn, eventually boxing him in and allowing one officer to climb on board. After a scuffle, they bundled him off the bus before it rolled away. Dream homes are taking shape with help from virtual reality. It's a new tool for the construction trade in the race to sign up buyers during Victoria's housing boom.
Carolina Robertson is stepping inside her future home. It hasn't been built yet, but a virtual reality headset allows the 63-year-old to walk around and experience all the dimensions and finishes of her new abode.
It brings it to life, whereas if I'm looking at photos in a magazine, there's just still photos.
The Australian first interactive technology means customers can change their floor plans, colours and tiles at the click of a button.
I just think it's just amazing to be able to put myself in the home that I want to build and have a feel of what things are going to look like for when I'm actually living in there.
This is a game changer for the home building industry and the ultimate design tool for our customers to really visualise their home and see exactly what they're going to get.
Victorians have spent a record $13.3 billion on 46,000 new homes in the past financial year. The boom fuelled by the federal government's Super Saver and home builder schemes. Months of lockdowns leaving Victorians like retiree Carolina craving a bigger, better lifestyle.
I am upsizing the home. I've got the extra bedrooms in this home, more rooms, more space.
It's predicted Melbourne will be home to 6.2 million people by 2027. Jackie Quest, 7 News.
Everything you need within a 15-minute walk from home. That is the criteria for Melbourne's most in-demand suburbs. The details are next. Plus, high-tech Aussie invention helping tackle climate change. A betting scandal rocks the Australian of the Year award and how thieves are cashing in on the multi-billion-dollar sneakers market. Melbourne's most sought-after suburbs have been revealed. Albert Park topping the list for the location most viewed online, with locals able to access all of their essentials within a 15-minute walk. Blairgowrie, Montmorency, Sandringham, Toorak, Northcote, Greensborough and Hampton are also in high demand this year. A pedestrian's in hospital with life-threatening injuries after being hit by a car at Chadstone. Emergency services were called to Huntingdale Road just before 10:30 last night. The driver has spoken with police. Shortly after, paramedics were called to Footscray, where a vehicle collided with a car on Barclay Street. 4 people were taken to hospital with minor injuries. A small Australian company is on the mission to save the world using drones to tackle climate change. 2 friends came up with the idea, combining the specially built device with artificial intelligence to plant hundreds of thousands of trees each day.
Climate change is here. And as global leaders scramble to work out how to reduce carbon emissions, 2 Australian friends are taking matters into their own hands, using drones to plant trees and restore forests, the one tool that can literally suck carbon out of the atmosphere.
That's the number one way that we can tackle this problem now. Natural born solutions is the solution that we can act today to make a difference against climate change.
Airseed Technologies use drones and artificial intelligence to study an area and work out exactly which plants are needed. Teams then create the perfect seed pod in the lab. Then they're dropped from the sky at a rate of 40,000 per drone per day.
We can have up to 5 drones going at the same time. 200,000 seed pods in one day is certainly achievable at today's operations.
The seed pod absorbs water when it rains, then melts into the soil, releasing minerals, nutrients and probiotics specific to that location.
Once we've planted, we don't just walk away. It's not just a one-plant operation. We're going back, we're analysing, we're using AI to identify what we've planted, what growth rates we're seeing.
The company is already planting in Australia and South Africa, but they're ready to scale up right now with the goal of planting 100 million trees a year. They've recently won a grant from Bupa, but now they need the help of other corporate sponsors too.
We may be small now, but we have very ambitious goals to be a global company. The structure, the technology, the science has been specifically designed for global scale.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Couples hoping to have children can now take a simple test to tell if they're likely to pass on genetic conditions to their child. The at-home screening kit developed by Monash IVF uses saliva to check for common childhood genetic conditions like cystic fibrosis. The test costs just over $1,200 for a couple and can be ordered online. Betting on the Australian of the Year Awards has been banned as police investigate how a plunge on this year's winner occurred. There are suspicions someone involved with the awards profited from insider information. Eventual winner, Sexual Assault survivor Grace Tame, was listed as favourite before the announcement with odds as low as $1.36. These days, sneakers are so much more than just footwear, with collectors now trading in a multi-billion-dollar Australian industry. Online sales are surging in lead up to Christmas, and we're being warned to watch out for fakes.
Alex is a bit obsessed.
These are for Paris Fashion Week. Crazy collar, had to pick those up. These are 80s bowling shoes. These were made famous by 50 Cent in the club film clip.
And this is just 1/4 of his authentic collection.
1,000 pairs or something like that. A lot of pairs.
You could put down a house deposit with these.
These are pretty special, huh?
Once belonging to Kramer, actor Michael Richards.
Yeah, anywhere between $20,000 and $50,000, I reckon.
But where there's money to be made, there's money to be lost. Millions of pairs of counterfeits are available online. That's where these guys come in, the Sneaker Con Sneaker Sniffers. It's literally in their job description.
Smells good. Smells good. Sweet.
One of several methods to find fake kicks.
A lot of counterfeits going out there. People want to have that clarity and that peace of mind.
Their business has been booming through COVID, so much so they were acquired by eBay and now able to authenticate pre-owned pairs too.
Customers can actually scan it, includes like when it was authenticated, all the details around the actual shoe itself.
The advice is, regardless of from where you're buying, if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is. Tom Hartley, 7 News.
Well, it's been lost for 100 years. Now, film has emerged of the Ashes test from 1921, showing Australia playing England at the MCG. Not unlike today, the England team had been in quarantine because of a typhus outbreak on the ship they arrived in. Australia won the match, Arthur Maley bowling 9 out for 121, an Australian test record that still stands today. Sport now with Jackie Felgate. Jack, the Aussies are hoping to go 2-0 up in Adelaide.
Hello, Blake. Yes, indeed, the Ashes squad jets off tomorrow, but fitness concerns remain for David Warner and Josh Hazlewood. Also ahead, Western Bulldogs star Josh Bruce reveals his coaching ambitions. A bitter war of words between F1 rivals ahead of the final fight for the championship. Spite night as Melbourne Victory and Adelaide United face off. And the throwdown in Melbourne heats up as a basket brawl goes nuclear. Welcome back. The Aussies will head to Adelaide tomorrow, hoping to go 2-0 up in the Ashes after their resounding victory at the Gabba. It'll be extra sweet for South Australian local Alex Carey following his stunning debut.
Celebrating with some karaoke. Australia's new wicketkeeper heads home tomorrow on cloud nine.
We all know what a pink ball test means, and it's a really good atmosphere in Adelaide. To have my family there is going to be very exciting.
Reuniting with father and mentor Gordon, who couldn't be at the Gabba because of chemotherapy for leukemia, will be every bit as special as the record 8 catches on debut.
Incredible debut, and I'm not surprised by it. I've watched him train in the lead up, and his preparation has been world class.
Myself, Marnus, Smithy, we're all in the game when he's bowling, so yeah, I'll continue to work hard.
Carey says his state teammate Travis Head is primed to become a force in world cricket.
He's playing beautifully, he's maturing as a person and as a player, so he's going to be one of the best players in the world. He's really confident.
In addition to the obligatory lashing from back home,
I can't think I've seen an England team more underprepared.
England were fined their entire match fee and docked 5 Test Championship points for slow over rates. Joe Root's even getting told who to pick.
They'll obviously bring back some absolute superstars, so it's going to be a good challenge.
Stuart Broad used his newspaper column to hit out at his and Jimmy Anderson's selection snubs, writing, "I love bowling at the Gabba and feel I could have helped the team this week. I thought we had done enough to be fit, but we can't dwell on that now." The only concern for the Aussies is Josh Hazlewood's side strain. Nick Markham, 7 News.
A bitter rivalry has exploded into an all-in brawl after one of the slam dunks of the NBL season. Melbourne United's Mason Peatling was thrown out of the game as the Phoenix celebrations went into overdrive.
2 Aussie NBA stars back home with a bang.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, Quick sir. Took a yes, body. Oh, here we go. And Mason Peatling barrels in after it. And tempers have flared in throwdown 13.
Phoenix recruit Mitch Creek with one of the dunks of the year. The result, the throwdown became an all-in, all-Melbourne courtside brawl.
Really silly stuff by Peatling. Not necessary.
Maddie Dellavedova on the receiving end of the Creek Grand Slam.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, Creek sir. Took a yes, body.
Oh. And United's Mason Peatling wasn't happy.
Okay. That is completely unnecessary.
Referees threw Peatling out of the game. Creek received a technical foul for taunting.
That is going to be one of the images of NBL 22.
The mostly United crowd booed Creek for the rest of the game. But he had the last laugh. Phoenix winning the Demolition Derby 94-86.
Star Bulldog Josh Bruce is exploring a coaching career as he recovers from a season-ending knee injury. The key forward is backing his young teammates to be the difference as the Dogs strive to go one better in 2022.
More than 4 months into rehab, Josh Bruce is embracing his new job as a coach.
Use your legs. Awesome. Definitely not the writing's on the wall or anything. I'm looking to play for a few years yet, but yeah, just dipping the toe in the water and seeing if I'm enjoying it, and so far so good.
His interest led to a development role with the Bulldogs AFLW team and an insight into the stress that comes with it.
You're powerless, yeah. You just say a few words and you've got to go let them play. You've got no control over it really, whereas when you're on the field you can actually do something about the outcome.
After a season-ending ACL injury in round 21, Bruce is facing up to 12 months on the sideline, but hopes to make a return next year.
Rehab's going well. I've been running on the Ultra G, the anti-gravity treadmill. Definitely aiming towards finals next year if I can get a spot in the team.
In the meantime, the AFLW side approves of its new recruit.
How are you, legend?
Work.
Bruce has been great for me in particular. I guess a key forward and a similar player, and want to aim for that flag. I don't think we should shy away from it.
Let's go!
And while he recovers, Bruce is confident the Dogs have options such as Jamara Ugle-Hagan for another strong season in 2022.
He's obviously an extremely talented player, but at the end of the day, he's also still a really young player. And Josh Shackey had a really strong final series. He looks like he's come back in great shape as well.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
The Mind Games are raging ahead of the climax to the most bitter F1 title battle in recent memory. Max Verstappen has pole for the season ender in Abu Dhabi. Lewis Hamilton qualified second. Whoever crosses the line first wins the championship. Hamilton accused the Dutchman of intentionally ruining his tyres so he could switch to softer ones.
I'm a conspiracist. No one locks up in turn one, and if you do, it's not a big lock up anyways. And so, they obviously deliberately chose to go into the soft.
Well, that was the plan, yeah. We were like, okay, let's go to the soft.
Now.
Overnight, Aussie Oscar Piastri clinched the Formula 2 world title with 2 races to spare. There was no love lost in a fiery clash between Melbourne Victory and Adelaide United. Scores were locked at 1-1 before Victory's breakthrough in the 78th minute when substitute Willem Pillay sent travelling fans into a frenzy.
Squares it up, Volupele couldn't miss. Victory back in front with 12 minutes to go.
Melbourne's Jason Davidson was sent off after a second yellow card, but Victory hung on, climbing to second place on the A-League ladder. We haven't seen many beaming smiles from Jason Day in recent years, but he's loving his partnership with Mark Leishman at the Sharks shootout. The Aussies lead Greg Norman's pairs event by 3 shots with a round to play.
Oh my goodness! The third hole out for Mark Leishman this week.
This is a highlight reel right here, man.
Day has trimmed down with a remodelled swing after years of crippling back problems. And plenty of big bash action tonight, Blake. Coming up straight after the news on 7, it is the Melbourne Stars taking on the Sydney Thunder.
Another shirt front coming.
Indeed.
It was a great hit, wasn't it?
How good.
Very solid. Thanks, Jack. Estelle's next with what's shaping up to be a pretty good forecast. It's getting a bit warmer.
Well, Blake, the mercury is set to rise tomorrow, but that's before a cool change later on. I'll have the details next.
Know the headlines as they break. Know the stories as they happen. With 7news.com.au, know the news now.
Hello again. We've had a warmer than average December day to round out the weekend, but it's set to get even hotter. In the city today, from a low of 10, we reached a top of 28. Our average temperature in December is 24. This is what it looked like today in Mornington, where it reached 26, and it stayed a little cooler in South Gippsland. They only got to 23. Across our state, our temperatures were even more varied, from 34 in Mildura to 20 in Bairnsdale. Taking a look at the satellite, and a high pressure system is extending a ridge across the Bass Strait. A low pressure trough over South Australia will move over our west tomorrow afternoon before stalling across central Victoria on Tuesday. Around the nation tomorrow, Sydney's looking mostly sunny with light winds, while Brisbane almost hits 30. There'll be cloud cover over Adelaide, but lots of sunshine for Perth. To Victoria, and tomorrow's warm weather has triggered a fire weather warning for these areas in orange. The Mallee and the Wimmera have severe fire danger, with temperatures set to reach the mid to high 30s. For the rest of the state, things stay warm as well. Some parts of the northwest almost pushing 40 degrees. Closer in, and our suburbs will be mostly sunny. Temperatures across the board will be in the low 30s. In the city, from a low of 15, we're heading for 32. It'll be mostly sunny and dry. To the 7-day outlook, and Tuesday sees us cool right down, a partly cloudy 23 degrees with the chance of a late thunderstorm about the hills. On Wednesday, we could get a shower or two after some morning fog, and once again, there's the chance of a thunderstorm. We stay partly cloudy on Thursday and stay in the low 20s, but as we end the working week, things heat up once more. 30 degrees on Friday with plenty of sunshine, and then our hottest day of the month on Saturday, 35 degrees and the chance of a thunderstorm. And then on Sunday, the temperature drops by almost 10 degrees. It still stays warm though, a top of 25. But tomorrow, prepare for a scorcher. 32 degrees with plenty of sunshine. Really a great day to spend outdoors if you can find some shade, Blake.
A great forecast indeed. Estelle, thank you. And that is 7 News. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday. Stay with us now as we head to the Big Bash. Good night.